Well, hello there, Fabio. We're live.
Good evening! Ho,
Back
ho,
again.
ho! Can you believe it? It's Christmas again.
What is the song? Thank God it's Christmas. Well, almost.
Dude, another year's passed.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it.
Why is this going so fast?
Super fast. It's like the D2 was just not so long ago, and that was in August. It feels like just the other day. Really.
It feels really like yesterday that you and I sat down to, do a roundup, and we started straight away to talk about next year. And it's going to be our 10th anniversary. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, that's crazy. 10 years, the 10th version. I mean, this year was so good. It was really such a good event in terms of like, how you always think about how you measuring success with the event. And one is how many people came, but it really has nothing to do with that. And it was really evident this year to see just how happy everyone was to be back together. I mean, it made me super happy. It was so much fun, and it really makes me look forward to next year again.
Yeah,
Regardless, it could be 100 people. It just to having everyone together is amazing.
I myself really needed it, like it was something that I was really looking forward to, and the chance to like sit down and have a beer with friends that, we haven't seen for like a couple of years was really fantastic.
Yes, definitely.
I see some people watching online, Angelo, Droki,
Yeah, it's great.
Filippo, Dario, Lisa. Lisa, we're gonna hear a bit later on. Tonight we're already here with the first speaker. Basically, before we go into the actual show, let's explain a little bit what people can expect from this 3 days celebration. So today and tomorrow we're gonna have 2 talks each single day with basically friends of the D2 that are going to share their story and their adventure in the world of digital design. We have tried to pick different stories, different backgrounds, as we always do, to keep it interesting and to give people the chance to get inspired. And then on Friday evening, we're going to have the judging of the challenge that we have organized with Red Vertex. I'm happy to see that a lot of people are handing in their work so far. Great work from the people that are participating.
Yes.
Martijn, hi, good evening, welcome. There's a very nice bunch of people watching this thing, tuning in for the show. You know that we are overlapping with the show in London.
What show's that? I don't even know.
No, with the meetup, the 3DS London.
Ah,
Nigel is organizing it. It's the Christmas party. And so, some people will come back later to watch the show, when they're home and drunk.
yeah. So Mike's mentioning my hair. He said we're not gonna. What are we not gonna talk about my hair? But what's up with my hair? Is it just white or
Well,
what?
you gained a little bit of white hair.
I think it's just bad lighting. Okay, it's bad lighting.
Bad lighting.
Mike, I do have 2 teenage daughters, so maybe that explains everything. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Time passes on. I refuse to
Really
dye my
does.
hair. I could look like a news anchor. I dye my hair and get a mustache. Yeah, I mean, I also wanted to mention that I just put today it's taken me a really long time, but I put up one of the first speaker videos today on the D2 from the D2 this year. So after this is over, please go check it out. It's Matthias Zabigli from Exponza, and it was quite a good talk and a funny one. So yeah, go check that out afterwards. And I'm putting up some more soon. So Fabio, should we introduce our first speaker?
Yes,
Yeah,
I would
let's do it.
say let's give it up to Vittorio Bonapace, who has, graced
Hello.
us with his presence. Hi, Vittorio, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, man.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say something since we started the tuning in before. I don't know, Jason, if you realize that how much of a big deal it is to be together with Vittorio. Like the other day, I was talking to a collector, right? And he's a person that is buying art as an NFT, and he was telling me about the art of like Vittorio, and I was like, yeah, of course, like I know Vittorio is a friend, and he was like, what do you mean he's a friend? He's a famous artist. I'm like, been knowing him for years, like, and I kept thinking in my head, the Manzi, which is our thing.
Oh my God, yes, yeah.
Manzi.
I was like,
well, who's the collector?
he's a guy from Hong Kong, but yeah, let's not beat it around the bushes. You've had a very nice evolution over these past 2 years, and you managed to build a name for yourself, coming from a field that it's all very dear to us, which is architectural visualization. And I'm just gonna take a stab in the dark and say that maybe the D2 had a little bit to do with your evolution because some of the early works that we saw coming from you were the ones that you did for the challenges that we have organized. But you don't need to send me any Ethereum, don't worry. But I'm very happy that you're here, man.
We're just not sending me the address later. I won't accept any address, guys.
Yeah. We're just happy to be friends with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, for you guys, I always loved you, and I didn't know it was 10 years actually. So congrats, and yeah, it's always a pleasure to see your lovely faces.
Thanks. Yeah. So you want to get started, or I think that's all we have to say, Fabio, isn't it? For now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Thanks, Fabio, for the introduction, and so I'm gonna share my.
I'm gonna mute myself, but I'm right here listening to you.
We'll be here in case there's anything you need, okay?
Lovely. Alrighty. So, hi guys, and I'm going to talk about my career so far, about creative process, inspirations, and including the life I'm living right now, selling digital art through NFTs, splitting my whole career into 2 life sections, basically, because this is what happened to me. For those of you guys who don't know my work, this I'm gonna show right now, it was a reel I actually created a few years ago, around 2018. And here it is. Let's have a look. So I studied scenography and painting at the Academy of Fine Arts in Rome. And I think my path is slightly different from the majority of the artists who work in the visualization industry, coming from the architecture universities. And the fact that I studied art and not architecture had initially some negatives, like you shouldn't see. All right. Thanks, Jason. So the fact that I studied art and not architecture had some initially some negatives on me, like not being fully prepared about urban design or architectural communication with client. But on the other hand, this gave me a great opportunity to explore in depth the feelings expressed by visual arts and the artistic language related to CGI, which in my opinion, it makes the difference for the image creation process. And especially when we need to tell a story or communicate and emphasize a message. The photographs I'm showing you right now while talking, they represent the work I was doing as a scenographer when I was around 22 years old. I worked around 5 years after my Academy of Fine Arts. I worked for 5 years for the Lyric Theater in Rome, known as Teatro dell'Opera di Roma, with Maurizio Varamo, painting with these massive brushes on this huge backdrop canvas on the ground. You see here in this pic. Sometimes it was required to sculpt polyester statues or scenography props, and this crafted a very good general art understanding in me over the years. I think I've been very lucky to be formed around such beauty, and I'm honestly super grateful for that. These are a few aspects that shape me and still inspire me today. Like, for example, theater and scenography, they impress me every day, especially for the theatrical and stage lighting, for the hierarchy and depth, the atmosphere and the focus of the image. And I think opera is a great artistic human expression that blends together composition, color palette, lighting, dance, music and sounds, and the overall emotional state. Painting and sculptures. I'm absolutely eager about exploring exhibitions, museums, and art galleries because they keep me inspired and refresh my ideas each week. And I try to go and enjoy art at least 3 times a week. Obviously, I have an active part in openings and vernissage right now, which I consider always good for connections and artistic ideas exchange. And in my opinion, this is underestimated sometimes, but you know, keeping our eyes artistically and aesthetically trained will improve massively our judgment and our artistic direction. Also, this allows to spread arts and cultures in our lives, which is always a good thing. Cinema. I've always found useful watching movies with no audio when I was younger, and I'm still doing sometimes. And not because I'm just a mad guy, or at least not for the reason, but to better understand framing, composition, color space in costumes and in photography. And this could sound silly, but I guarantee with me, all over the years, it worked quite well. And I had a teacher in the Academy of Fine Arts who really pushed me into this. And I really improved my composition and judgment skill over the years. Both architecture and street photography, they're fresh, creative, out of the box. And I think it can keep you bold sometimes. And having eccentric ideas sometimes is mandatory in our career, in our research. And finally, fashion and costume design, where I often get inspired by shapes, or contrast or great patterns and color palette. But let's see a hint of creative process and how I believe ideas deals with production and with clients through mood boards and obviously design boards. As I just said, to me, mood boards and references are one of the most powerful tools for the artist. I think the concept stage where we create boards and the whole iconographic world represents a real bridge between our mind and other people understanding. Every board I'm going to show you while talking are examples I collected for my artworks to express obviously the atmosphere and the final look and feel. personally, I can hardly communicate with someone else just telling ideas or showing previous renderings or describing the project with a few words. And actually, I think that showing 3D stuff to clients is a wrong way to approach how can I say, the photographic outcome, because all the renderings references lead to a simulation of other people ideas and processes. So I always go for photographic references, honestly. I like to explore a concept and several mood boards every brand new project, and each one of these are carefully researched to reflect where I'm going to do in terms of lighting, atmosphere, framing, and again, color palette. Once I got the purpose of the artworks from the briefing and I have a clear idea what the concept should be, I can then submit a proper credit proposal. And I believe it's mandatory to create a good balance between, the credit output and the client's expectations. It's good to have ideas and credit suggestions, but firstly, we might have to carefully listen to the client to understand what they really need, what they want, where we need to focus our attention, and what are the key points of the project. And I learned this mostly with time and with many mistakes. When we've got the whole picture and the vision, then I think we can develop a story and a message that work, and we can help the client to sell the product on the market, because we're talking at the very end about selling something. That's the point. So let's see client expectations. What I mean by this. In my past, I did many mistakes to carry on ideas just because I liked them, or because I believed there was image looking good, or simply because they were good enough to create portfolio image and better sell myself on the market later using a specific project, not for personal growth. And I'm going to show you a few works I did around 10 years ago. So they're kind of 12-ish. And I consider this kind of a nice interiors renders today, since I was supposed to model every single detail at the time. And the 3D industry was quite different from the current one we're living. And to be honest, the result made the client very unhappy during the process. And I think it's a good starting point to see these mistakes, even if the image looked decent to me. For example, in this case, I briefed the client and we agreed on a sunny mood. Then because I realized the mood wasn't good enough, maybe it was an easy way to create something, or maybe because there was a stronger composition with a kind of a different lighting. But I changed direction in an advanced stage of the process. And I think we all can imagine the frustration of a client if we really think about it, when they sign off a sunny day at the beginning of the process, and then they received an advanced stage with an overcasty weather with the pool, which was like a key feature for this project in shadows. It's not ideal, but lighting and composition in the overcast were great, and that's why I try to carry on the kind of lighting. But I've argued so many times with these clients. I fought for this and I pushed a little too much, and then ended up doing honestly the last collaboration with them. This is a good example again of what I consider one of my old big mistakes. This kind of relationship between artists and clients can lead to a sort of frustration from both sides, because not understanding the vision and the marketing reasons of a project can leave the client unhappy and very unsatisfied, even if we produce nice images or images that looking decent, basically. Over the years, I realized that client satisfaction is one of the final purpose to aim. In order to do that, I believe the artist need constantly communicate in a smooth and clear way, and communication and clarity are fundamental in every single stage. With this artwork, I honestly intentionally changed design, blending the layout they suggested with contemporary furnitures. And even if they asked me for a different style many times, they wanted something more classical. And I kept changing furnitures during the reviews, colors, the overall style, just because I liked it more. And I even tried to convince them to agree with me that it was much better this way. And honestly, you can imagine how this obviously ended up at the time. And it was like, again, my last work with them. The funny fact about this, after 7 years, the client asked me to use this image in all their marketing advertise, because they in those years after me, this was one of the, I guess, one of the nicer render they got for that period of time. And yes, this was a little satisfaction after a few years. It might happen that client isn't aware of what is really needed for the project. Sometimes I saw clients changing their minds once the creative proposal and the key points of the project were agreed. This happened because the client not always is sure about the creative proposal. And I wasn't good enough probably to manage his expectations. And then for sure, I should have ignored a few important signals or concerns. And I kept presenting, listening probably only to myself, I guess, and delivering an advanced stage of the image. They didn't sign off properly. And this ended up with a lot of unexpected comments. As you can imagine, I won't mention the typical comments we can receive, but it's always, they're always the same. And yes, so I ended up with a lot of comments, including lighting comments, the atmosphere. Even they asked for a camera change in this case. And this is the most dangerous position, because the changes may affect massively the visual, and too many compromises, as we know, they lead to the visual, they lead the visual to something that has a lack of a focus, and it's not strong enough to sell the project at the very end. And yeah, this is the situation where the clients want to take control, you know, and of the visual. They want to guide the output because they're unhappy and unsatisfied at all. And obviously the communication was very bad. A way to manage the creative output to me is keeping clarity and avoiding misunderstanding stage by stage, presenting ideas and mood boards at the right time, explaining what's the following stage, what they need to sign off, and what they can expect from us as a next stage. So first of all, we have, like in this case, that's the way I learned to do this. We have the initial mood, and then we can show the first sketch and painted draft. And I'll show you shortly a few examples I used to present, where the overall atmosphere is rough, but it expresses pretty well the final look and feel. Around the comments, prioritizing the most relevant ones, starting with nailing the 3D, because sometimes we don't have much time to craft the whole project properly. And obviously, because we have signed off the mood and we know where we're going. Second stage draft, a more detailed image with a more refined 3D. We have background photography in sometimes we may not, and including, let's say, almost the architectural and geometry and 3D details. And this, to me, needs to look like a pretty much resolved render. At this point, we can get other comments and try to collate together everything and address everything. And then we can deliver a final image, which has most of the comments done. And we have controlled the mood, we have controlled the pretty much everything, and the client can be happy as well, no? You know, this was a creative proposal I sent out to control the creative process again a few years ago with an initial sketch draft with rough textures, but specific lighting and mood according to the concept boards. And then I expect the first round of comments, then a more advanced stage, and then the second round to deliver the final, as mentioned. And the sequence I'm going to show is courtesy of Cityscape Digital, and this is a master plan I led in a major London project a few years ago. A bit of poetry in the title to give, you know, a bit of a romance and dream, to selling a dream for our proposal. The mood board to express feelings and the idea behind, able to express obviously the color space and the general atmosphere. The initial painted draft with proxy textures, and I think is the most delicate and obviously important stage, because if you stretch your eyes here, you can see the final outcome. And based on this, I can expect the first specific feedback from the client, and we can understand quite well if they're happy with the mood or they like something else. And this is a good time to change direction if we see a wrong reaction from them. This was the second draft presented, textures, background photography, and other details in to be reviewed. This is supposed to be like, you know, an almost resolved render. Maybe it's obviously still missing the post-production, but it's pretty much resolved in terms of geometry and 3D details. Once received the feedback, it's possible to produce the final render with lighting and the overall finessing, including all the address and comments. I registered at the time a quick breakthrough the post-production I made, starting from the raw render. So let's see it. In this case, I was just, you know, trying to understand where to go and what was the best way to understand the visual, make a smaller image to understand better the composition, bend on lighting on the center part, to have a nice focus and a nice reading of the image. So this is another example of credit proposal I made. In this case, I put together for the challenge of tomorrow in 2020, and it expresses pretty much how, again, I used to manage a kind of a creative outcome to present something. So a title to each image, first of all, bits of poetry and statements to enhance the feelings and help to selling the dream again, mood boards for the atmosphere and the art direction, and ending the presentation itself with the artwork suggested. The aim of this challenge was to design and visualize the architecture of tomorrow within the context of the Hudson Yards located in New York. And in terms of the concept, I imagine this project as a new heart-beating center for the city, community at the center of these visuals. The message and the story I wanted to tell were not the architecture itself, you know. The scheme to me was meant to surround and frame people's stories and people's feelings. So nothing about outstanding offered services or modern and beautiful infrastructures, but focus on how the new amazing area will inspire and change people who are living there, people who are working there, and who engage with the new area. All about vibes, all about people. I choose Ordinary Beauty as cover title for the entire project, describing quite well what I had in my mind. Sunshine through nature and green connections. This was the first title of this, the first artwork. I thought that people having a relaxing time in the park, enjoying the sunshine on a beautiful Saturday morning could be a nice key point for the project. That's why I collected a few images to tell the park story. To me, the board tells about a relaxing but even quite busy and vibrant day at the park. So warm and positive with music on the background, positive atmosphere, connecting with other people. Quite strong lighting and saturation. In the right-hand side, glimpses of double lighting getting through the canopies of the trees. And I found that this light and shadows contrast would have given some interest and depth to the visual. And here is my final one, which is a little bit painterly in this case, because I had not so much time to put the everything together, because there were 3 images, and if I remember correctly, I had like probably a couple of weeks, maybe less. And everything is well connected to my board in terms of palette, color space, in terms of feelings, and lighting values. And in this case, I played with the composition to let the landscape itself framing in a natural way the vessel, which was the main point of interest at the center of the visual. Inhabiting the sky was my second visual, and I imagine a couple of friends going out in the evening and enjoying life after a long day. They're standing on a roof terrace with this kind of fantastic view, enhancing the magic lights and the beauty from there. This is the mood I developed here, quite vibrant now and not so dark, trying to express calm but same time energy with the buildings. I was looking for a sort of jewelry lighting, and this is the image I crafted. I added a few warmer touches with lamps on the tables, and in terms of reading and composition, I kept an horizontal band of lighting to enhance again the vessel, which comes out quite vibrant and basically pops out like a jewel. I decided to put music piano events as a storytelling, you know, just to add a little bit of romance in the visual. Eccentric faction, be your true self, was the final, and let's say so, the irreverent image of the set. I was looking for something original and a little bit eccentric, so I thought to a model having a photo shoot for a magazine inside the vessel. This inspirational design building, which is the iconic phase of the master plan. So a quite clear fashion and movie shot in this case. The perspective I choose here will be reflected on the, obviously, in the image. And there it is, the final shot presented. I like how the model breaks the pattern of the building, the feeling of the sunlight on her skin, and of course the unusual perspective. And you can see here the relationship between these elements. So same color space for the sky, is the same perspective presented in the mood. I mean, the same language. That's the point. And I ended up with a bit of concept explanation. You know, I wrote a few lines to help people understanding what my purpose was, and I included a statement to help selling the dream, like get there, get inspired, eat, and drink all the beauty. I wanted to show you quickly this, how I used to present this kind of vision paintings at the beginning of the process, since I mentioned this stage many times, to express the mood and sign off the atmosphere before you know, moving to the next 3D development. So something the client can see, and they can stretch their eyes and understand where we're going. So I'd like to spend now really a couple of minutes and then we can go on the next chapter of basically of my life. Reviewing, I want to review like this. This is coming from a concept I made for 2019, and this is something which I was very proud of since it was nominated to the CG Awards 2020. I'm not getting really into the post-production, but mostly just a few considerations about concept and art direction here. So I did this visual before the coronavirus and before the world went crazy with all the pandemic situation. I thought that in these recent times, you know, with global warming, pollution, and general disrespect for the planet, something like that could have happened, obviously, not in a terrible way as this really happened. And when when Evermotion launched the Time of Change competition in 2019 about this futuristic vision of a city this kind of a city in the future, I decided to develop the idea of a very close future, not so far from now, so just a couple of decades forward, where you cannot breathe at all without something that cleans the air from dust, from viruses, from pollution. That's why I created this City Kids race to sponsor the, let's say, saving the planet, the race, to help combat pollution and human misfits. And obviously the kids are a choice to boost and emphasize the message and the story here. I decided to develop this as a futuristic retro style, one of my favorites, slightly dystopian and nostalgic. And I, I developed the glass sphere ideas as helmet design. In terms of inspiration, I've been mostly following the work of a few artists from the 60s who were usually shooting model inside glass spheres. And one of these was Melvin Sokoski. This is the mood board I collected, and I kept together reference for people from the back, reference for the color space to match carefully my idea, the card design. You can see it's all in the mood board. And in my mind, this moment is where if I stretch my eyes, I can starting to see it's happening in the visual, from composition and color space to the proper design language. I consider it like a bridge from myself, from my ideas to be translated into a more visual language. This was the initial sketch. Sometimes I do refined sketches, sometimes quite rough ones like this. But in this case, I was happy because it was expressing exactly what I wanted to achieve. And it helped me defining the moods, the lighting, and the composition. And there's the comparison between image and mood. And you can see like colors kind of match my main image reference. The kids have same color tones of the gentleman cycling. The background then has the same delicate pink color, and there's a lot of depth and atmosphere as the mood suggested. And I matched, of course, even the asphalt in the foreground in terms of color. And then since I was sure that all I needed was there, I started crafting properly with 3D, with a crystal clear direction in my mind. And again, this was the final artwork I submitted to the challenge. So I spoke in a kind of a past way so far, because this was Vittorio Bonapace studio up to 2018, crafting architecture, artworks, and interior design images. But over the years, while working with companies, I always carried on with my digital art creation. And I've always thought that sooner or later, I could have been able to sell my art on the market, not as a fine art print, but as a one single valuable sale. Same process, basically, of the classical art, as you know, selling something into a gallery, same identical process. So being an artist, this is what I studied at the Academy of Fine Arts, and this is what I wanted to do honestly in my life, and to express concepts, to convey message to the world outside. That was something I was aiming for. I knew what I was interested in terms of research and language, and what was attracting me as general themes and interests. And I believed in me and pushed as far as I could with my art. So long hours, long days, very long days, if I have to think about it, and hard work to carry on everything at the same time. But it worked well for me. And I found a way to create something and finalizing it in a few weeks time process over the years. Obviously, I have to build up extremely carefully the image of myself as an artist in every single social media over the years, again, keeping all the platforms updated, well connected, and also attractive from the outside, outside world. So this is November 2020. It was afternoon. I still remember with clarity when I read this news about people selling on Nifty Getaway a series of digital editions at around $970 each. And Nifty Getaway, for the record, is a marketplace to sell digital art, one of the many. And I couldn't believe it because I was willing it for a long time. And honestly, I immediately did all I could to show up my work on marketplaces, presenting my whole work as an artist with, bio, art statements, artworks, concept descriptions. So I used to write a lot of concepts, so I was kind of prepared for doing this. And I did also several applications immediately, both written and with video presentation to apply and to, break the gates or whatever. How about I envisioned my work as an artist. So I didn't know how half of the terms I was reading about crypto, guys, about blockchain, NFTs, but I was genuinely interested in and excited about something totally new and unexplored. And I felt like I had to jump on it immediately, no doubt. And I found a way to get into Foundation first, another trendy marketplace at the time. And then I landed finally on Super Rare, which is the most refined and curated marketplace, where I had my first curated auction and exhibition. And this was May 2021. And these artworks was 2080, the Astro Show, which was also part of one of the first European digital art exhibition with auction ever organized, probably the first one ever. And it was in Milan, so we did in Italy, and in Cambi Auction House, which is a solid institution to sell art on the market. And the artwork got the attention of an American collector, which paid around 5K for having it, triggering my price and value basically on the market. And this was the NFT with the music I created, and it was exhibited on a monitor screen. Then I literally started exhibiting my artworks around many cities, and I did London, I did Paris, Rome, I did Milan a couple of times, where I was exhibited into a curated art exhibition at Museum Della Permanente, with an extreme pleasure, guys, because it was very well curated and professional, with national television, with a press release, interviews, journalists and critics. And yes, I still having chills when I think about the steps I did and the things that happened in 1 year. Then I did Lisbon, Shenzhen in China, where I've been able to be projected into a museum with a projector screen in this huge wall, which allowed people to appreciate all the details in the scene. And unfortunately, I could have been able to go there. I will live hopefully for this year coming, something like that. And arriving to exhibit one of my works to New York City in Times Square during the NFT New York. And this was a great reward and really a dream coming in life for me, dream come true. But the most important thing was focus on my message and my language research. And this might sound silly, but every artist at a certain point, and obviously artists that want to pursue the artistic career, I think they have to look inside and focus on what trigger the curiosity, what attracts us and why. And this leads us to raise ourselves questions and trying to give answers. And this brings a lot of knowledge and self-analysis to me. And it obviously takes time, and it took a lot of time for me, but it's definitely worth it. I think this is the most extraordinary thing I nailed about my art, doing a journey inside myself, and I'm still doing it, and I will do for as far as I go, trying to understand who I really am, who I've been, and what I wanted to express with my art. And this is a very cool way to know what we are, what we were, and what we're interested in, and what interested us over the years. And in my case, I realized I'm very interested in all those aspects, technology related, society, religion, and space exploration related, using a kind of dystopian and nostalgic language to make critiques, sometimes to the consumerist society, sometimes highlighting the flip sides of the social media or the negative aspects about technology or general human values. I grew up in a Catholic environment. This is something I have to mention. My uncle is a priest, and I had symbols and religion signs all around me in my early ages. My father was a classical musician, and I grew up with classical music around me every day. Even if I started playing lately rock and metal music at a certain point of my life, but that's another story. And when I created AD 2000 Crucifixion, I wanted to bridge two different worlds, finding a balance between human values coming from the heritage and contemporary vibes coming from technology, from this new language, from blockchain, from devices, and from contemporary language. So people taking selfies in front of a dying Jesus was a way to show up something going on with all generations. And how many of you had, for example, seen people staring at their phones on the tube, sitting one of each other, or people not reacting at all in front of a tragedy, and actually sometimes making videos out of it. So I was really interested in portraying this idea. And I decided to bridge the CryptoPunks, which are these famous NFTs portrait project made of pixels, which I represented as the original character taking part in the historical crucifixion, like the two Marys and Saint John and the soldier. And I blended them with like classical statues of angels, which was a way again to make these two worlds embrace in one single piece of body. And the soundtrack as well, the audio I made, because I made in all my artworks, I made my soundtrack. It reflects this willing to bridge the old and new, the analog and the digital. So electronics and robotic sounds, they blend together with a classical church orchestral voice song. So for someone, it might represent an auction reflecting what's happening now with the marketplaces, or for many others, it could be like a remind to a cinematic death sentence in a kind of a Netflix style. I leave you guys with the vision and the possible interpretation. And let's see the original artwork with the Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's always there. It's like a few NFTs. We have some videos, and then I will wrap up everything. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for the remind me. Thanks for the remind me. Yeah. So I'm gonna play this again. This is Ludica Futura, which I created to critique the contemporary abuse of AI generative imagery. I've been introduced to Midjourney before the summer, and before it was kind of a trendy language. Midjourney is one of the most successful AI software on the market right now, one of the many. And I immediately noticed that a few artists were creating a similar outcome. I decided to experiment with it, but avoiding releasing artworks because I feared to be connected to someone else. And when they made it public, or simply more open to everyone as expected, I saw a ton of artists doing the same thing, the same language. Different, but kind of a same language, which might sound super for many, obviously, because you can prompt something, write down something, and you have immediately an unexpected piece of art. But that sounded becoming less original for me, and a bit risky for my integrity as an artist. But I used it, and I decided to create the background artworks of this piece with the software. And I created the animated blackboard with the AI, imagining this full scene in the future where the AI itself remembers when the AI started. And in this case, the AI itself simulated and sculpted the iconic David and Goliath as his own image and resemblance. And the kids, obviously, they represent the metaverse, the new generations, and the student that basically disconnects from his helmet has been punished. And here again, I decided to bring a connection with the 8th century school, where the kids were punished for real standing with the knees on chickpeas. And this was really happening. And this was carefully crafted following historical reference I found. And it was very interesting for me to bring this to the surface. Again, two words that bridge and kind of collide together. And let's play the original artwork.
Artificial intelligence, 1,000 times smarter than we are. It will be moving at speeds that are 100,000 times as fast as we think, and it will be digesting information and data 1,000,000 times more than we can. What is artificial intelligence? There are a lot of confused ideas about it. So a lot of people ask, when is it going to happen? When is artificial intelligence going to be smarter? Say 50 years, 30 years, some say 5 years. I say it already has surpassed us.
So following the crucifixion, I decided to create a 3 chapters artwork, creating also the Annunciation and the resurrection of Christ. and this is AD 2000 Resurrection. I had a little bit of explanation, but I will just play this artwork. And this is my latest artwork that called A Requiem for a Dream, which I'm about to mint it on super rare these days. They're coming. It's the most fresh work I have at the moment. Even if I started working on 2 new pieces for a couple of exhibitions going on January. It's a very emotional and personal because recently I've lost my grandma, and I created this piece as a reinterpretation of what I've been through, portraying myself as one of these dummies with my family too. It is also an artwork that speaks about frailty, accident that happen in life, vulnerability with a constant remind to the wars and the times where we're living, controlled and manipulated by a society who doesn't really care about human values. The entire soundtrack is dedicated to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and I registered many friends all over the world to create altogether a few articles of the Universal Declaration. And the fragile voice that speaks in Italian at the beginning is my grandma's voice. I've been able to register that's Dora. And the reason why I chose to use the dummies is because we use them as humans to extract data from voluntary car crashes and impacts. And let's play the artwork.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The preamble.
Ogni individuo ha il diritto alla vita, alla ricerca e alla propria persona.
Artículo primero. Todos los seres humanos nacen libres e iguales en dignidad y derechos, y dotados como están de razón y conciencia, deben comportarse fraternalmente los unos con los
l'uomo sia
otros.
costretto a ricorrere come ultima istanza alle ribellioni contro la
Toda persona tiene los derechos y libertades proclamados en esta declaración, sin distinción alguna de raza, color, sexo, idioma, religión.
So I hope you enjoy the talk, and hope I was able to bring you guys a little inside my head to understand a bit of my background, artistic thoughts, and to understand a little bit of my life and how I wanted to evolve over the years, and all I wanted to explore. So thank you guys for the space and for this talk. Fabio and Jason, thanks.
Yes, we're back. We're here. Thank you, Vittorio.
Vittorio, looking at your art, the one that you have produced, beside the stuff that you do professionally, I really wish that you spend a lot more time talking about that instead. It was beautiful. Like I knew already a little bit about the stuff that you were doing, because obviously we were there when you started with the NFT world. And so, I've seen your evolution. I was very interested in your work. I still am. And I thought this was amazing.
Thanks.
You're
Fabio.
muted.
Thank you.
Oh,
I really
no,
appreciate
sorry.
No, he's not. It's fine. I think. Yeah, I also have been following along as you have been creating your artworks in the last couple years, and it's really nice to hear you talk about it. We've seen each other a couple of times, but we never really talked about what you were doing. So
it's great. It's great to hear, and I think it's nice to see sometimes to look back and see how we change as artists or as person, as what's interested us.
So
thanks for the.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
So I hate to cut you off. I mean, it'd be great if we could chat a bit more, but we need to move on, to bring Lisa up. We're running a little bit behind. So once again, thank you. And we'll be back in about, 5 minutes, Fabio?
Yeah.
So we're going to leave the stream running, and we'll be back.
Don't go anywhere.
In just a couple of minutes.
Yes.
See you, bye.
Vittorio, mica te ne sei già andato.
And we are back. Hello, Lisa.
Through the magic of editing.
Nice to have you in our studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Today it's a double Italian treat.
Yes. Yes, it is. What can you do? What can you do? I mean, it's not a double because it's triple. I mean, Fabio, you're here as well. I don't know.
And then, by chance, I also see that you have a love for plants.
Yeah, I will ruin it. I just brought the plants in because I knew Vittorio was going to have a lot of plants, and I do love plants. But all my plants are upstairs usually, so I thought I went with the lift before, and my kid was like, "Where are you going with the plants, Mom?" Don't mind, I'm just doing stuff.
It's unbelievable to think that your kid can actually speak. It feels like yesterday that you were pregnant at the D2.
Yeah, it was 2019. He's 3 years old now.
You know, it's like it makes us feel a little bit closer because it's like you're part of the family, right?
Yes.
And your kid doesn't even know that before.
He was there. He was there.
Yeah, exactly. He was already there.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Maybe one day can speak at the D2.
Yeah, right? No, I hope he does something else, actually.
You're a good mother.
You know, my daughter is now, she's studying already, you know, university. She's now trying to decide what exactly she wants to do. And she told me, we've been talking the other day, and she said, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about interior architecture. And I was like, what? I don't know about that.
Yeah, the little one is always coming into the office because we work from home, and you always come into the office. I want to work. Stop it, Liv. Don't do that. Just play around. But yeah,
I want her to, of course, do what she wants.
Yes.
But with the experience, you know, I've had working in architecture.
But not interior design and architecture.
Well, that it's not.
I mean, it's in her blood.
It's not the interior design or the interior architecture thing. It's just the experience I have had in architecture. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's not for you. I don't know. Not for anybody. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. This is a nice conversation to have with your kid. You know, like, Lucy, I want you to do whatever you like. It doesn't matter to me as long as it's not architecture. Oh God.
Yeah, well, she's gonna do it, I think, and that's gonna be fine. I hope she likes it and is successful at it, right?
Time will tell.
And I will support her.
Yeah.
Guys,
and tell her I told you so.
We're
later.
Taking time away from
sorry.
No, I'm saying that we're taking time away from you.
So yes,
from your presentation.
Yeah, thank you for having me after Vittorio. I mean, I can leave now, I guess. I mean, I don't know what can I say? Whatever, guys.
Lisa,
I will lower the bar now. Don't worry.
No, come on.
We're very happy and we're very excited to have you here.
Yes,
it's you know, the work that you have done for not only as a designer but also as an educator, inspiring like young people into getting into this field. It's really something that I think that, you know, a lot more people should do. I know that Mike Golden, who's watching this, is also a teacher at the university where you teach.
Yes.
And so, you know, this is a beautiful thing to see people who have been very successful in their own field giving back to the younger people, the younger community, and to see how this keeps pushing new talent into the industry. And so, you know, for that, I'm thankful for people like you. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. I mean, you don't need an introduction, but those who might be watching from home, they don't know you.
I will introduce myself. I'm sure they need a refresh.
So, you know, I don't need to do that for you.
Yeah.
Jason, is there anything that I'm forgetting?
No, I think let's can you go ahead and share, Lisa.
Yes.
We'll be here. We're gonna
go.
mute, but you know we'll be here if you need something. Okay.
You can see that.
Yes. Are you full screen?
It's going to now. Yes. Should be. Okay. So,
Fabio, can you hide yourself?
I should move you out, guys. Okay. So, first of all, thanks a lot, Jason and Fabio, for having me. It's crazy to be here. I've been attending, following D2 forever. So, yeah, that's something I would not imagine being on this side of the thing. So, thank you, guys. So, I'm Lisa, Della Dora. The bar is leaving at some point. Yes, I am Italian, as you might say from my accent. I am also many things. It's not so easy for me to put it in one word, so I try to put it all together. I am a mom. I am an architect by training. It's not exactly what I'm doing day to day, but still, I am the project manager and art director at Bloom Images since this year, but I will tell you about it later. I'm art director at Madi, and I will also talk about it later. And also I am, I don't know how to say that, a content creator, blogger. I will explain it to you, don't worry, I'll render it. And this is my growth path. It's not so linear, so, I mean, not so crazy, but still it has some interesting parts, I think. I mean, for me, very unexpected turn of events. I studied in Venice, beautiful, amazing Venice. My parents are from Venice, from Lido, Venice, so it's a city that's very dear to me. I actually wanted to study in Milan. I wanted to do interior design, but then that was like, no, you have Venice so close. And so Venice it was, and I became an architect. I studied something else before, but that's not that interesting. Yes, so I was doing my 3 hours commute every day back and forth from Venice, and I did my bachelor there, my master there. And then in summer, after I graduated in 2014, me and Andrea, that was then my boyfriend, now he's my husband, we decided to move to Berlin. It was not such a sudden decision, actually. He already was in Berlin the year before for his Erasmus placement, so I was working there, I was visiting. It was summer, Berlin seemed amazing. Yeah, well, turned to be a bit grayer during the winter, but still. We spent the summer working at Biennale, a very much underpaid working experience, but a very nice one as well. And preparing our portfolios and curriculum and so on and so forth, and making a list of like 100 architectural studios. And we landed in Berlin, and I landed my first job. That was my first job ever after the thing at Biennale. I don't know if I can call that a job, but still it's in my CV because it's nice. So I started as an architect and as a landscape architect, actually, because my master degree was in landscape and sustainability. So I was searching for a job in the landscape field and in competitions, because, yeah, I think that's that part of the process was something I was more into. Little did I know that was not exactly what I wanted to do with my life. So I realized working there that designing was not my thing, especially not at that scale. And that I really did enjoy visualizing projects though. And also I found out that there was this person in the office that she was a PR. I didn't know what that could be a job, that you could make a public relationship, talking to people, interact, could make connection, a job. So that's something that I kept in my mind. And the thing is that I was working way too much. I was working 60, 70 hours per week, Sundays, nights. And I mean, at that point of my life, I was still quite young, and I could have done it if it was out of passion, but that was not my passion. So I decided to quit the job, and I started applying into visualization offices, and I always kept the idea that PR, it was really cool. I started applying to visualization offices, but in Berlin, it's not like London. It was even less some years ago. And the biggest one was already booked out because my husband was working there. So Andrea, when we moved to Berlin, he did also a lot of interviews, just one visualization office that was Bloom Images. And he got the job. And I was very worried for him because I told him, you like to design? What is that ArcViz? Is that a job? Are you sure they're going to pay you? I knew about Mir, I knew about Krilo, and but I didn't know it was a job. So I was a bit worried for him. Actually, in a year and a half, I also joined, not Bloom Images, because we made a pact that we would have not worked in the same office. So I started to search around. And please bear with me. I'm going to show you some of the images that were in my portfolio. Remember that I just got out of my graduation at the university, and I just worked as a landscape architect, kind of. I mean, it was not really that nobody was asking my opinion, but I was working there. Yes. So these are some of the amazing images that were in my portfolio back then. As you can tell, I was really into grungy filters and noisy stuff. Somehow, and those are not the worst, there were something worse that I'm not going to share. Somehow with this portfolio, I landed 2 interviews and 2 offers, and I decided to take the one at Eve Images. And it was mind-blowing for me because I did the interview directly with Justus, that was the founder and CEO, Justus Ettemeyer of Eve Images. Now he left the company and founded a new one. But back then the company was a bit smaller, so the interview was exactly directly with him. There were no HR then. And I remember we had 1 hour talk. I wouldn't even call it an interview. It was a really nice chat with him, and he offered me the job after some weeks, and I accepted. It was, at the beginning, it was a bit tough for me to reset myself because I started as an intern when I was an architect, then I got a proper contract and I kind of grow, and I had a proper salary also. And then I had to start from scratch again. So back to square zero. Because of course at Eve I started as an intern again, because I have never, almost ever touched 3ds Max before. So the idea was that he would have taught me the job, not him exactly, not him directly, but Michi, that was my mentor, taught me everything I needed to know about 3D modeling. So I spent my first 6 months learning 3ds Max, being proactive and doing stuff in 3ds Max, 3D modeling, working on the library. So after 6 months, we agreed that we would have talked again. And he was expecting me to join the landscape team, exterior team, but I said, can I please try interiors? Because that idea that I had many years before was still there, that I liked interiors. And he said yes. He said yes to everything. I don't know how, but he said yes to everything. And that's my first image ever. I find it cute and embarrassing at the same time. But I was so excited about those sockets and those light switches, the lamp cord. It was very, very new and exciting for me. It still is, but I remember that image, everything I put in there. These are some of the images I've done over the years, working there. And that's what I learned working there, because that was a very big and structured office. So I realized that for me, working with that, so many layers, so to say, on top of me, and so many different people telling me what to do was not working for me, because that's just me, because I have this personality that's a bit kind of strong. And I don't like too many people telling me. I think I can be very humble, of course, especially when I'm starting something. It's not that I'm not humble. It's like I don't like to be talked down from too many people, and that's something I realized by doing it. I very much realized how much I love interiors. But I felt a bit insecure because, of course, I've never trained to do that. And I felt like I was not good enough in that. And also, I really enjoyed the project manager job that the girls had there. It was something that I was looking up to. And I thought, okay, I will never reach that point, but it was interesting because we had I was doing just 3D back then. I was following instruction, doing just 3D. Then I had another director telling me what to do, where to place it. Then I had a guy working in post-production on my images, and then the project manager giving me feedback and talking to clients. And then there was a client. So for me, it was a bit too many steps. But I think it works great for many people. Don't get me wrong, of course. What happened afterwards? After 3 years in Berlin, we moved back home and started working remotely. And that was something that we were not expecting, because it was 2017, so 5 years ago. And when we both said to our companies we're moving back home, we were both offered the option of working remotely. It was like a gift. I don't know how to say that, but me and Andrea, we were kind of preparing to work remotely, to work as freelancers at that point, and we could never imagine to have this opportunity. And that's where I come from, guys. I mean, I come from Venice. I have Dolomites just around the corner. That's where I go to breathe and to recharge myself. That's something that I missed every day when I was in Berlin, like the flatness of Berlin. And I come from the place where we invented Aperol Spritz. So, I mean, you put those three things together, you understand why I did have to move back at some point. And after realizing that working remotely with that structured job was even worse for me, was really not working. And I decided to start a new job, applying for a new job first. And this time was Bloom Images. Yes. We did that pact when I was in Berlin, that we would not work together. But after some years, I specialized in interiors. Andrea was very much specialized in competition architecture and so on, exteriors. So we were not on each other's foot. And yes, that's what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's something I really enjoyed, also because there is a lot more freedom at Bloom Images. There is a bit less structure, and I learned so much, and I go so fast there. But I told you, I started at Bloom, and I was supposed to know a bit more about interiors, because that's what I was doing purely and solely during the previous 2 years. But I still didn't feel that confident about that, so I decided to go back to school, and also had a baby in the meantime, but I will tell you about it. So I was preparing the presentation. I realized that I asked to my bosses after like 6 months of working remotely if I could attend the master. So, and if I think about it now, I was like, okay, girl, calm down. But they said yes. They said yes. And the thing is that I asked for their permission, of course, because the school was in Venice, and it was in person, and it was Friday and Saturdays, every Friday and Saturday from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening. So I had to skip all the Fridays for 6 months working. And they said yes, and they saw that as an investment as well for the company. And the course started in November till June, and I got pregnant in March. So that was tough, but still we managed. And I discussed my thesis, as you can see here, a little Albert inside. He was 3 weeks old when I discussed my thesis. I would not recommend that to anyone else, but it's doable. I don't know, you remember that I was saying how much I was into that PR job and how much I found it fascinating. And I think I kind of found my way to become one, definitely not getting paid for that, but still it's something that I very much do out of passion. So it's very much rewarding. And that's Render It. That's I don't know how to describe it. That my baby, my project. That's something that I started almost 5 years ago now. And one morning I woke up and I went on there. I told him, I think that's something that it's missing in Italy. We don't have that much connection within this industry. We don't know the scene in Italy. I mean, at least I didn't know. So I was curious about it, because when I moved back to Italy, I didn't know anyone doing this job except for the people at Madi, because I already know the university. And I decided I wanted to know more. So one of the first people that I got in contact with back then was Fabio Palvelli. And he said immediately, yes, let's do it. And we had one of the first interviews with him. And after that, I never stopped. Sometimes I pause it because sometimes I'm exhausted as well. But I never stopped it. And since 2018, I did more than 40 interviews with people working in the field, in Italy, abroad, teaching or owning an office or things like that. And those are, yes. If you speak Italian, you can find them on the YouTube channel of Render It. But after a while, it was just me speaking to those people. That was amazing already, but it was not just, it was kind of a one-way conversation. So after a couple of years, I decided to start something else that was like community around Render It. And joking again with Andrea, I came up with a Made in Italy's name, because it sounds like Made in Italy. I don't know if you get it. And it's something that I'm pretty proud of, because now in the Facebook group, we have more than 700 people. And if you think that it's more than 700 people working in the field, interested in the field, Italian people, just Italian people, that's the funny thing for me. We are so many. And also I started the hashtag on Instagram, and since then there are almost 8,000 entries with that hashtag, and most of them are amazing. So I repost some of them on the page, and yeah, Render It's something I'm quite proud of, I have to say. And I also started getting a bit more curious and wanted to explore more visualization since 2020. Of course, I think it was mainly due to the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic and we were stuck at home. Like in Italy, we have a really strong lockdown for 2 months. I never left the apartment, and I had a small baby and I was on maternity leave. So yeah, I had to find something to do. So I started working on personal projects, and those are some of the ones that I developed over the last years. And the good thing and amazing thing about personal projects is that they give you the opportunity to discover new stuff, test new stuff, learn new stuff. I don't know, I use them most of the time to work on composition. Sometimes I redo some of my photos. Sometimes I just test some technical stuff like caustics, volumetrics, things that I don't have time to do in my day-to-day job, or light. That's something I'm quite obsessed about, playing with light. And I think that's because I become a mom, but I'm really getting into illustrations. I would love to illustrate a kid's book one day. You never know. I don't think it's going to happen, but we will talk about that in some years, and we'll see. I think it will just stay as it is right now. And of course, shout out to the T2 team, because with their challenges, they're always pushing everyone out of their comfort zones. And I've done things that I would never even imagine doing by myself. So thank you guys. Those are some of the entries for, I mean, every time a challenge come out, I really bite my nails, because I really want to compete, but it's not always possible. But I try most of the times, and they are super cool. But how did those two things, render it and working on personal project, affect my career? Because this was my free time, and free meaning free, because of course I didn't get paid for all the things. There's just out of passion, out of love for what I do. But they allowed me to create a lot of new connection. I mean, I have a very big number of people that I call friends now within this community, and that's something I cherish a lot. And also new opportunities. And about cherishing stuff, the one I cherish for sure the most, and the one that I landed because of Render It and also some personal project, is Madi. Madi is a postgraduate master in digital architecture of the University of Venice. So it's within the university. So it was pretty crazy thinking that I studied in Venice. I got back there while working and still being a student. And then I become a teacher as well. So now I'm sitting on the other side. And I remember the call that I got from the other Fabio. It's not Palvelli, but it's Daniano. He's the director of the master. And he was telling me that they were searching for someone for the team, if I might be interested. And that was pretty crazy, because that's something I would never dream of, and something I'm very grateful for. So what I do at Madi is I teach. I have a Corona course. I do art direction. I support with the rest of the team as well the production of the images of our students, because that's what we work on all year long. It's developing a portfolio, and a very good one, because we know how hard it is now to find people that are very skilled and know how to do many stuff. And also the internship support, like I support the students while they're searching for an internship. And I also talk to the studios that are searching for students, and I usually try to make them match. I'm not alone in that. And ciao Serena, I hope you're following. Without you, Madi would not be alive now. These are some of that's the amazing thing about Madi. It's that it's like it's a family, and as you can see the photo down there on the right, that's part of the family attending the T2. So you can see we are quite many, and we have around 40, between 30 and 40 students every year. But also that affects my career a lot, of course, because I mean, that's the cool thing about adding stuff. Of course, you might be a bit tired afterwards, but you also keep on growing. So what happens when I have to teach is, of course, I have to stay up to date, because sometimes I'm a bit lazy, and I would maybe wait for someone else to teach me the stuff or learn something and tell me what's going on. But since I have to teach, I have to be one that always stays up to date. And also it's amazing for me staying in the middle between those fresh minds, young students with a lot of energy, excitement. And I get excited as well when I'm with them, because I can feel that thing. Of course, it also gave me an opportunity to work on new personal projects, because when I have to create new lessons, I have to think about assets and things that I would like to share with the students. And of course, the last but not least thing is that it helps me developing my ability to communicate effectively, because I have just 2 days to teach these kids a lot of things, and I have to do it clearly. And of course, I have to be sure that nobody's left behind. And that's something that I also use with my clients. So yeah, very, very helpful. these are some of the images that I did over the years to do some tests and play with the students. And since I'm here, I will take the opportunity to let you guys know that we are launching the first edition of the MADI International this year. And it's a postgraduate course, so you have to have at least a bachelor in architecture. That's a level 7 of the European qualification frameworks. It's going to be online lessons. The classical one, it's instead in person. And it's going to have an intensive workshop around June in Venice, and that's going to be amazing. Lessons will be from March till October next year, and they will be held in English. We're working on the time schedule that could be flexible enough for people that are working to attend. You can, of course, reach out to us and we will let you know. The application to join and to enroll in the MADI International close on the 16th of January at 12. And then the selection will be made, enrollments will be by February. And as I said, we will start in March with lessons. In case you want more, just click on this, have a look, write us an email, info@masterad.it. Otherwise, you can also check the website. Yeah, in case you guys are interested, join us. But let's go back to the project manager job that I found so fascinating at the beginning when I was working at Eve. I somehow managed, it's so funny, pun intended, to become one myself this year. I don't know how it happened because I will mention it later, but my self-esteem when I started working was very, very low. And then for me, getting to understand that I managed to grow as much that I got this offer was a huge deal. And that's, of course, changed a lot my point of view, because I'm not dealing with pure images or software or just clients anymore. I'm dealing with people. I'm managing people now. So, of course, I start to care much more about their well-being as well, because I have been struggling before. So I really don't want them to go through this stuff. So I tried to make everything funny and happy and cheerful, but it has not been always like that for me. And when I was working as an architect, I think I experienced depression because I told you I was working way too much, and I was not enjoying it. And I was very, very isolated because I was the only one in 40 people not talking German at that point. I was studying it, but between studying and talking German, it's a war. It's very difficult. And so I was very isolated. And in the office, the thing is that it was a kind of a isolated office as well, because there were no bars, no restaurants around. So the only way was bringing your lunch from home or going to the supermarket and buy something. So we were all having lunch there. And everybody was speaking to the people next to me and not talking to me. And I was spending the majority of my time there. And then I was going home, and most of the time Andrea was not there because he was also working crazy hours. And yeah, I can tell you that was not an easy time for me. And then also afterwards, once I was pregnant, I was thinking about leaving the job, quitting the job, but not the job at Bloom, the archivist field overall, like in general. I thought it was too much. I thought it was not something I could see myself doing as a mom as well, like long hours, crazy things, crazy stress, and so on. And also after I become a mom, I struggled a bit, but that's, yeah, can happen. So that's why I would love, before closing, address the mental health topic in creative industries, because I don't know if you guys know that I did some research. This is not the only study that has been done, but I would bring you the data from this one. people working in the creative industry are 3 times more likely to suffer from mental health problems. And the main things that have been seen are anxiety and depression. And that's because the work can feel so personal. It's our ideas, our designs, our words, our strategies. And of course, you put your hearts into it most of the time. Sometimes you just go with the flow, but you know what I mean. And therefore, you get more stress. You think it's fine to pull all-nighters because the project is your project. It's your baby, you know. So those are some of the stressors. And the crazy thing is that most of the stress, most of the pressure comes from our own expectation. And I think I hear it all the time. Also from the students, they are looking at what other people are doing, but you have to remember at what stage you are. So you can't compare yourself with someone else. And you also, I mean, it's fine to look at somebody else, what they're doing, but you should stop comparing to them at some point and concentrate on what you're doing. Of course, pressure from others, multiple responsibilities, working when sick. I mean, that's not safe. And a lot of people have been working from home since the pandemic. They have been mixing homework and home office and office hours, but still working when they're sick. And long hours are a thing that is supposed to be normal. And that's something I always say, we don't save lives, guys. I mean, I love my job, but we're not saving anyone. Nobody's dying if you deliver things the day after. So that's something I always hated since I was an architect, now working in the artist field. Of course, the impact of that he says of family and friends, stress, financial stress, because most of the people are also freelancers, and isolation. So I didn't want to end on a sad note, but that was simply to say that I really wanted to use this platform to even reach one person and tell that person that you're not alone. I mean, and most of the time, the people you look up to, they don't have their shit together either. I can tell you that. So reach out to the people around you, share your struggles, and you will be amazed by the support that you will find. So if there anything I would like to take away from this presentation is sometimes paths are not a straight line, and if you follow your guts, you might end up doing things you thought you weren't possible. You could reach. Always be curious, never stop investing in yourself and trusting your ideas. And if you're struggling, slow down. You're not alone. Reach out to someone else. Thank you, guys. Hi. Hello. Hello.
We're back.
Hey, we're back. Great. Nice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa. That was very good. And I totally agree with the last part of your presentation. It's definitely something to think about. It's definitely something that I've thought about as I got older. Like, what is it that I want to do? Is it really worth all these frustrations and everything, some of the things, and trying to, make that path like I would like it to be, as opposed to conforming to how, like, a difficult situation, let's say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that you should consider, your mental health.
Yeah.
And physical health. I mean, it can affect you there too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Most definitely. But I didn't want to depress you all, guys. I just want but I mean that I think something it's important to be said. And since I work with so many young people,
yes,
both in my both jobs, because with at Bloom I'm dealing mainly with younger people, and at Mali as well. So I really wish someone have told me that before, because it was tough. But we're here.
Yes, I think it's not. I don't think you're being depressing at all. I think it's all about awareness, and that's That's all it is. You know, a lot of people don't talk about it, so it's good.
I talked over the past few months to some creatives working in the field of entertainment and video games and all that. And apparently in the video game industry, there is basically a big chunk of people that simply don't exist. And this chunk goes from the age of around 33, 34, all the way up to 42, 43. And that's because, you know, like the amount of talent that gets in the industry and gets burned out and decides to get out or quit or come back later. It's basically in that in between, right? And so a lot of young people might have the energy right now and they might say, you know, I'm giving 100% everything that I got, just to run out of energy in a few years, right? Unfortunately, these things, you don't learn them until you bang your horns in it, and it is what it is. But I do think that it's important to at least bring it up, because eventually, like, we're a group of people that maybe can share their own experience, but we cannot talk about it in a professional way, right? Everybody goes through their own thing and they're having their own existential crisis. But I do think that, you know, we need to normalize vulnerability. You know, like, I'm also a content creator, and one of the conundrums that I had to sort of like deal with is you make content and you need to always be positive because of the camera, but not always you have the strength to be positive, because, you know, not every time things are good, right? And so I do think that it's important for us to be able to open about this, to talk about this openly. Anyway.
Yeah, and also I've been many times told, I mean, like, things that for me are funny, like, oh, you are a superwoman, or you do all this stuff. When, I mean, first of all, that's not true, and I'm very exhausted most of the time. But also, I think we tend to idolize people and just look at what they've done, but they don't know what's behind that. So that's why I wanted to end this like that, because of course it's nice to share your past, but you just see the outcome of it. You never know the difficulties that has been behind that. So yeah,
that's right.
Maybe that's this.
So day one is over. It's a lot shorter than an actual conference, isn't it? A conference day.
Yep.
But I find it a little easier to digest, or even for those who are listening and watching from home.
Yeah,
definitely. So Lisa, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I can't wait to see you again in person, you know, sometime soon down the road.
Come to Venice, guys.
I'd love to.
You know, I'm always coming to Vienna, but at some point you have to come to Venice as well. So.
Oh, I'd love to come to Venice. Yeah.
Do that. We are there.
Okay, Fabio, do you have anything else you want to say? We're going to be back tomorrow.
I just want to thank again Lisa, as well as Vittorio. He's probably already gone. You know, for tuning in, for helping us out with this event. We make this event to bring a little bit of joy around the holidays to people that do the same jobs as we do. Also, you know, to sort of like bring the community together, wish each other Merry Holidays, Happy Christmas, whatever it is that you're celebrating, and you know, to have a little bit of fun. And we'll see each other tomorrow at the same time.
Yep, got a couple more speakers tomorrow, so.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the time.
Of course. Hold on, Lisa. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream, and then we can say goodbye, okay?
And then you can bring the plants back upstairs.
Yes, you can. Yeah, with the elevator. Ciao, guys.
Bye.
Bye.